Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to this is Council on Future Conflict, episode 514. The last episode was 513, and we have the wrong number on the title.
No, it was
as well.
it was actually the wrong number last episode.
No, episode 511 was the chutney chow down. That was 512. Then 513 was the last episode, which is Russia Ukraine, and 514 should be this show. So anyway, today is 514. No matter what it says, we'll get that fixed. It's my fault. I got us off, and Watcher thought he was correcting me, but we both ended up being wrong.
Okay, so true, but also interesting note: 513 appears to have been deleted on all platforms.
Anyway, so let's no, that's the council. That's the Russia-Ukraine one from Monday.
You two can fight later. We could just do the show right now.
No, I mean, but this is the riveting conflict that future conflict that they're clamoring for. Today's show we're talking about the new order. That kind of they became like I think this is like a boy band called the New Order, right? It's the not the old '80s goth band, but the new boy band that Donald Trump is now the front man of, with his buddy MBS and Jelani.
Look at him standing there with two Middle Eastern terrorists.
I know, right?
Hold on though, because they've got to be a fourth, right? So they're auditioning, right? So who is the fourth? Chat, tell us.
That's true. I don't know. That's a good one. Maybe Haftar, because he's getting all elbowy in Libya. Anyway, so by the way, I just want to know. So Trump is like what, 5'2", 5'3", 5'4", something like that, right? Like he's 6'2" to 6'4", right? Like height wise. So that means MBS and he are the exact same height. And this Jelani guy, like actually their eye lines are higher than his. So both of those guys have got to be in the 5'3". Oh, Erdogan going to be the fourth member? I don't think so. I don't think anybody actually likes Erdogan, right? It's like they have to deal with Erdogan. They don't like him. And that's the reason why Turkey is the perfect place to have the peace conference for Russia and Ukraine.
It could be Xi. Brings the bad boy dynamic.
Xi, I don't know. It's I kind of like the whole Middle East, kind of synergy thing, but MBS has lifts in his sandals. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Although, hold on, doesn't MBS have the kind of money where you could put lifts in your fucking knees?
You mean like leg extension surgeries? I mean, theoretically. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about why Joe is being so sour. We're having fun here, Joe. Come on.
I'm not sour at all. I just think this is a silly photo for him to have staged.
Joe, how you doing, brother? You got some big doings there.
What did you say?
I said you got some big doings going on there in Montana.
Yeah, Matt arrived last night along with one student who was here pretty early for class, and some other guys who are just here to hang out. So we got a lot going on. We went to the old infamous A bar last night. Had a good time. Taco Tuesday at the A bar. And hey, we're getting ready to kick off a big week of fun. A lot of great classes, a lot of good people. It's going to be a good time. We sat around the campfire last night, and you can never have a bad time sitting around a campfire. So.
Yeah, I tell you what, there's something magical about just sitting around looking at a fire and just kind of like hanging there with the guys, and
Yeah, I saw
solving all the world problems.
So that guys will just sit around and stare into a fire and call it therapy. Yes, we will.
Yes, we will. And there is a problem with that. How?
Prove us wrong.
Oh, the last episode. I'm sorry, Watch. I was just looking at the live. So the last episode got deleted from YouTube.
That's what
That's what he said, dude.
No, but it's not deleted on Rumble. So anyway, I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
I'm seeing it now.
Again. I'm just. Anyway, Watcher, how you doing, brother? You got some new members of the family moving in, huh?
Yeah. I'm doing excellent. For those of you who are monitoring on Twitter, Operation Gulenbursty was an incredible success. If you didn't get to see it, here are the results. This is Igor and Eva, our new Kunis. We think Eva is probably pregnant, but if not, that should happen soon. They're yearlings, and yeah, incredibly excited about that.
What a gorgeous young couple. To see the young love budding in the air is so nice.
I know. Well, and in case anyone's curious, yes, they were in fact named after young Dr. Frankenstein. Let's see. Not my choice, by the way. That was the original owner. It's funny though. I turned to the wife and I was like, okay, so we've got 3 types of livestock now. Does that make us farmers? And she said, I think until we actually produce something and sell it, we're kind of just crazy people with an extensive chicken collection.
With a large pet population,
a living pantry, so to speak.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
By the way, I have discovered why we were blocked on the last episode. It was because of Saturday Night Live.
Oh, damn it! It was such. You know what? Worth it.
It was worth it. It was worth it at the time. And like I said, we don't monetize these YouTube videos anymore. So I just clipped it. So. All right, gents. Anything else we need to talk about in our neck of the woods or anything? Anything close to the before we jump into odds and ends? Just open it. Hey, by the way, is Matt gonna wake up early enough to make a cameo?
He's up now, but he has more pressing duties to attend to.
Well, I just thought he might come and say hello.
Well, he may. He is rumbling around here. He just got up, so we shall see.
No big deal. I'm just kind of curious if we're gonna get a
I'm sure sometime in the next 2 weeks. I don't know about today, but maybe.
Yeah. All right.
I can't speak for him. He's wandering around here. He has told me he's making me chorizo and eggs, and I'm not going to get in the way of that because he knows his way around the kitchen.
That was like one of the I'll be honest with you, the most unexpected and pleasant things about the
speaking of
the devil.
Yeah.
There he is. Matt, how you doing, brother?
What's up, man?
Not much, dude. Just kind of chilling.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
How are you doing, Matt?
Here.
How was the drive?
Somebody long. Glad to be here. So, somebody said they couldn't get good Mexican food in Big Fork. I said, well, it's I'm pretty good at making good food. We're gonna do
it. I met the first Korean who's ever been to Montana. Today, and he went to school in Bozeman. And he knew where Kalispell was, so I was like, "Oh yeah, you probably drove right past my buddy's place." So,
yeah,
ain't
but a few ways through here.
Yeah,
there are not a lot of options when it comes to ways to get around in Montana. All right, let's dive into the odds and ends, shall we, gents?
All right.
This first one, I thought was kind of an interesting. I was not expecting this because there've been some talks about like Florida wasn't completely playing ball with some of the stuff that was going on, but that didn't seem right to me. But this story kind of clears a little bit of that up. It's like Florida's probably like, why send ICE people? You can just let us do your job for you. Florida troopers now federally credentialed to arrest illegal immigrants on their own. Florida officials announced that 1,800 state highway patrol troopers are the first in the nation to receive federal credentials under an immigration cut like an ICE agreement, allowing them to arrest illegal immigrants on their own. Ron DeSantis said at a press conference on the 12th that the state's ongoing partnership with ICE included what is known as 287G agreements, where state and local law enforcement partner with ICE to help arrest and deport illegal immigrants. The Florida Highway Patrol entered a task force model that gives them the power to arrest foreign nationals who are in the country illegally and place detainers on them during routine policing, such as traffic stops. In essence, this allows local law enforcement, to operate as an extension of ICE under federal supervision. Gentlemen, this makes way too much sense. So clearly there's going to be some federal judge that's going to step in and say, no, you can't do that.
I don't know, but I was pretty sure that the oath most officers swear already covers that. But okay, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. You're right. There probably is going to be a judge about to intervene.
Yeah, I get the feeling that there's probably, most of these cops are all jurisdictioned out, and that's probably the reason why, they're loath to step on other people's toes, because they get smacked when they do. And it probably doesn't help that they've got all these Soros prosecutors that are like basically saying, if you break some sort of, neo-Marxist pact that we've got with the illegals, then you're going to get prosecuted, buddy. Hunch says an Arkansas is now making truck drivers do reading and writing tests at way station stops.
That's good.
Yeah, that is really good. Ron DeSantis encouraged other states to support President Donald Trump's effort to deport illegal immigrants, noting the success of Operation Tidal Wave. The recent joint federal-state operation arrested more than 1,100 illegal immigrants. Some of those arrested, including gang members such as MS-13 and Tren de Aragua, both designated as terrorist organizations by the Trump administration. Additionally, DeSantis said Florida also swore in 100 troopers as special duty U.S. Marshals, which will allow them to execute federal search warrants and remove dangerous. Now, this, once again, Joe, this is another thing that makes a lot of sense. And it's almost like it makes too much sense. There's got to be another shoe to drop here.
Well, this is actually not new. And every time there's a federal task force, they swear in all of the local officers on it as special deputy U.S. Marshals for that reason. So it's a long-standing practice that they would have a hard time overturning.
Yeah, this is probably just the first time that we've seen one so focused on, maybe ICE or kind of a broad ICE enforcement type operation. All right, let me kind of go on down there. It is by and large a voluntary effort. You can decide how much you want to participate. This is what the state and local jurisdictions kind of have on them. DeSantis added that there's a plan on the table that, if approved by the federal government, would allow military judge advocates to act as immigration judges and provide makeshift detention space and transportation for illegal immigrants. That's interesting. I had not heard that.
That's a bridge too far, I think.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything about that kind of world. I know about military judge advocates, but I just don't know how you get them roped in with the law enforcement. I know there's got to be a way to do it, because I do know that there are some powers that are used under DISCA, which is defense support to civil authorities, where they can supplement in emergencies and whatnot. So maybe
that's the problem, right? That's the problem. It's not an emergency, and I am loath to. This is my consistency again, right? I can't just like something because Trump does it or it supports an issue I don't like.
Oh, sure.
I'm consistent on the fact that I'm not for militarization and emergencyization of government, where we just say the word emergency and all of our laws and rules get set aside. I'm never a fan of that.
One of the things that I think I have a problem with, Joe, is the fact that like they've made it to where only the feds can do, like if, for instance, if a state grabs somebody and they know they're an illegal immigrant, the state should just be able to walk them down to the port of entry and then push them back through the port of entry, without, especially if it's a very obvious kind of thing. I mean, if they're caught at a factory and there's some question, well, that's a little more, you'd need some adjudication on that. But, I don't know. There seems to be a lot of red tape involved in some of these laws that don't make a whole lot of sense. So I'm willing to be consistent. I just don't understand the rules enough to know what consistent it would even be when it comes to this stuff. Let's see what else. The governor noted the state experienced with disaster response, such as during hurricanes, helped the state come up with a plan. He said there are 70,000 to 80,000 illegal immigrants in the state with final deportation orders issued by a judge. Getting rid of criminal illegal immigrants helps cut down on crime and save lives, DeSantis said. There may be 11 million illegal immigrants in the states, but even if a single state could put their hands on 50, 60, 70,000 within their border and then push those guys on planes and send them home, that'd be a huge difference.
Yeah. I
mean, because, Joe, let's be honest, we don't want any illegal immigrants here. But that being said, if it was between the old system and just getting rid of the 10%, like the worst 10%, I would be okay with the worst 10%, but only as a starting point. You got to keep on going for the whole thing. I'll be honest with you. I think that the self-deportation thing is going to end up being something that gets a lot more popular, especially once, long-term illegal immigrants start getting rolled up and basically being told, well, if you're getting kicked out, you can never come back under a legal visa. I think they're going to want to be able to come back, so the self-deportation will be kind of
I've got some bad news for you. If they came in illegally the first time, I doubt they're going to come in legally the second time.
Well, I think it just depends on what the potential. Like in the past, it was always
handed me a piece of paper with words on it. I guess I'm done. Yeah.
No. My point is in the past, it was like you come across the border illegally, you start working in your restaurant or whatever, they catch you, they deport you. Then it's a matter of just how fast you can get back to the restaurant to start working again. And there was no real, stop or we're going to deport you again. That's not a real threat. There's got to be something more to it. Like, I don't know, maybe a double like a offense would be a 10-year prison sentence. I don't know.
A millstone around the neck. I don't know.
That's not the worst thing. Maybe a tattoo on the forehead. Illegal.
That's funny.
Or even better, alien. Let's see. So federal law enforcement is actually doing this nationwide, or they're attempting to. Besides the task force model, the federal government created a jail enforcement model and the warrant service officer model. The jail enforcement model would allow local officers to identify and process removable non-citizens already booked in local jails. And the warrant service officer would allow officers to serve and execute administrative warrants on illegal immigrants already in custody. So yeah, I think this is the kind of common sense program that probably they didn't have to invent the wheel, Joe. I mean, you kind of mentioned that we already had this kind of thing in place, but I mean, the fact that they're starting to get a little more aggressive in how they use this, I think that's probably a good idea.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe they don't even need to make a law. If it's already something that's there, automatic 10-year prison sentence for reentry after being deported, I think that the problem is if you don't enforce it, it won't ever be something that people have to worry about. And I hate to say it, but sometimes Granny's got to go to jail if she keeps breaking the law.
Every Tomas, Miguel, and Geraldo.
That was good. That was good.
If by Geraldo you're talking about the failed journalist,
Mr.
remember
Rivera.
his real name is Jerry Rivers.
Yeah.
Not exactly an illegal alien, but he sure wants to identify as one. All right, let's move on now, Joe. I'm sharing one here that I found on your timeline. Here's the thing. This is one of those kind of things that you see this kind of stuff, and they do it because they're like, oh, we're going to scare the shit out of white people. But when I see like armed black activists, I'm like, yes, thank you. You should be armed. You should be, as long as you're peaceful and you're doing it legally, I got no issue with that. Though the irony here is the guy's armed, but he's got like a freaking crossbow. Well, that guy's got an AR. So this next is a video thread from Ford Fisher. He's one of the guys from the original Riot Squad guys from back in 2020. And the Black Panther movement held an armed rally in front of the Hamilton County Courthouse in Cincinnati on Monday to support Rodney Hinton Jr. Now, this is the guy whose like son was killed or whatever, and he went and ran over a police officer or something like that, right?
His son was killed, and he went and ran over a random police officer.
But his son was like actually trying to kill the police officer or something. Like, so it was not like
his son was in a stolen car, bailed out with a gun in his hand, and turned towards them with the gun. So
yeah, so
really
not even right. So Hinton faces the death penalty for allegedly striking Sheriff Deputy Larry Henderson with his car, killing him. After viewing body cam footage of his own son, Ryan Hinton, being killed by a different police officer, they might want to kill Rodney for avenging his son. We say no way, sir. We say no, sir, said the executive director of the Pan-African Affairs for the Black Panther movement. You do that and other things are going to happen. No justice, no peace, the crowd chanted. Say his name, Rodney Hinton, and we're going to just say his name. We're going to protect the spot. So here they're trying to find another, guy for them to, carry the water for.
Well, they are trying to make good trouble, as they would phrase it.
Well, I'm going to point something out here. This guy here with this 1-star general star, Anubis.
Yeah.
The fact that he's using the name Anubis ties these people to the Black Hebrew Israelites.
Bingo. Yeah. All right.
Well, they've got all the Pan-African stuff there, the red, black, and green patches, morale patches. I like how he has literally the 3 of the same patch going across. Like it's the only one he could get, but he could get multiples of them. Got AR-15 mags, but a crossbow, huh?
Crossbow.
Yeah. Archery Corps is the Black Panther Party's only crossbow archery unit.
You don't say.
We basically support the Black Panther Party with 2 missions that I cannot go over right now. During peacetime, we support with security details, like today. What else? The Archery Corps headquarters is located out of Columbus, Ohio, but we're down here because we got the word.
Obviously, you have some people who exercise their Second Amendment with firearms. You have sort of a different approach. Can you talk about literally the value of crossbows?
Well, one, you don't need a license. 2, you don't need to register. And 3, even a brother or sister with a felony conviction can own a crossbow. So, all you brothers and sisters out there who got felony convictions and you want to help out, the Black Panther Archery Corps is for you.
I'm personally offended that he's wearing an 8-corner hat. I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, you know, this is what they meant, Joe, when they talk about Uncle Sam's misbegotten children. He is one of the misbegotten ones that strayed too far from the flock, evidently. Either that or he just thought it looks cool.
Yeah, he was a Kang, all right.
So there's a little more. We got some more video here. If you want to check out the next one, this looks like their spokesperson. This guy is definitely well appointed.
Epidemic. Whereas the thinking that was expressed by Rodney Hinton be our thinking. Now that's most of us think like this, especially in this room. But how many of us have the courage to carry it out? How many of us have the courage to carry it out? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, but see, when we start seeing each other as brother and sister, then if it's your child, it's mine too. We want to cause an epidemic.
So this guy is basically
how is
saying
that not one of the Eddie Murphy barbershop characters in Coming to America?
Do you have any proof that it's not? I mean,
his mama called him Cassius. I'm gonna call him Cassius.
but you know, but what he said there is actually pretty like corrosive, right? It's like he just did what we all always think about doing. Like, you know, one random white guy kills a black guy, and then we should just kill some other random white guy, tit for tat, right? Because they're all the same. That's basically what he's saying.
Except for that's not tit for tat at all.
Well, but see, but here's the problem. Here's the problem. This is what you get when you get into collectivist thinking, right? Like, he doesn't see white people as individuals. He sees them as just this kind of collective blob of people who are all equally racist against him and his people, right? Because he has a collective identity of racial identity.
Right down to the standard issue Symbionese Liberation Army beret he was wearing there from the 70s.
Well, exactly right, and it's like he's got a signal, you know, what he is, and if a black person were to come up and disagree with him, then he's an Uncle Tom. Then he's you know, all the things that they would call him. And the only reason why is because, oh, you're a black person, then you can't be on the other side, right? You have to have like it. So this goes to the whole idea of like pure thoughts and all this kind of stuff that you have to have when you're in this kind of you know, purity tests, right? So let's see. That was the third video. So there's one more where he's like talking in front of the courthouse. Let's I think that's the second. Yeah, the second video. Let's watch that one. I'm trying to get any insight as I can into the way these people think.
We are here to support Rodney Hinton. Anytime that there is loss of life, we are concerned. But when there's loss of life and people get away with loss of life, we're saying that we understand why there's loss of life when there's loss of life. Especially when it's your son. They're trying to say that Rodney's crazy. He ain't crazy. He's upset. He's in love with his son. He's in love with his son. He does not want his son or to have lost his son like his son was lost.
Then he should have raised his son.
Yeah.
Period. Not even good or bad. He just should have raised him because he probably didn't raise him.
No, like flat out. I'm sorry. You're out hanging out with kids, stealing cars with a gun, and then you bail out of a car. Look, I reviewed the footage on the side screen while we've been here. Like the kid bails out of a car, drops the gun. The cops don't even shoot him until he bends down to pick up the gun and then faces towards them.
Yeah. No. What I'm saying though is I think the epidemic of violence in the black community has everything to do with the corruption of the black families, i.e. the fact that these black men are growing, 2/3 of black men are growing up without fathers in the home.
Well, the entire community glorifies criminal behavior too. So that's part of the problem.
Karen, you're bad. You're bad, Karen.
Sounds like it. All right. Patrick Seven, member for 20 months. Thank you, brother. The guy that ran that Black Panther group, his son went to prison for kidnapping, torture, and murder of 3 people, and the dad was involved. Yeah, well, because why wouldn't he be? It seems like the thing to do at the time, officer. Anyway, so the whole kind of point on this is it's important for us to remind you of the domestic threats, and they're not going away; they're growing. And the fact that you're going to have people on both sides that are going to basically stir the pot on this. Sometimes they do it on purpose, and other times they do it just by existing. That's going to make this that's the kind of stuff that's going to essentially make this happen, would be more likely to happen. And so one of the things that we'll be looking at here on Future Conflict over the next year, and as it's applicable, is how the kind of the kettle, the sometimes it's the race kettle, sometimes it's the Marxism kettle, like how the heat's being turned up on it. So that hopefully we can see it come into a boil before it overflows.
Some piece of useful piece of intelligence that came out of that whole clip of video is General Anubis there was wearing a Baofeng radio. We know from intercepts in the area they were operating on MERS 3. So when somebody shows you what they've got, it makes your job way easier. So we're teaching SIGINT class here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And if I see that my OP4 is using Baofeng radios, I already know their operating frequency range, right? It's between 136 and 174 megahertz, 400 and 480. So that limits the amount of work I got to do to intercept their comms. So good stuff. Come to class.
Yeah. And just reminder that collectivism is a mental disease that is communicable, and you should do your best to limit the spread in any way possible.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, this is one of those kind of things that a lot of times it'll be like, don't you want to help look out for your family? Or don't you want to help look out for your neighborhood? Or don't you want to help look out for these people who have always been there for you? This whole tribalization, and people try to drag you into it. And let's be honest, a lot of times the people who drag you into it are the people you trust or love the most, right? So it's hard to get past that. A lot of times it's confirmation bias. We were talking about intellectual bias, kind of cognitive biases that kind of trick your mind into making the wrong decisions. A lot of times tribalism is absolutely tied to confirmation bias. Putting more weight to information you get from somebody that you care about or you love or you trust. All right. Well, we do have some good news in the odds and ends today. Federal grand jury indicts Wisconsin judge accused of helping illegal immigrant evade ICE. So,
good.
Oh, how the tides have turned.
Well, the fact that we're even seeing this headline within about a week of hearing about the story itself. I mean, I know it's been a little little bit. I think it was April when this happened. On April 18th.
I can't. I'm sorry. I'm going to get it out of the way now, and then we can just move past it. Jesus Christ, her teeth look like like headstones in a graveyard that has been around since the 1700s. What is happening?
I've seen leprosy victims with more game than this mug.
This is proof that liberalism makes you ugly.
This is true. But then again, hey, we shouldn't make fun of trans men like this. All right.
Kill shot.
Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan was indicted by a federal grand jury on May 13th after being arrested and accused of. Okay, let's score one for the feds on this one, because they, this guys, this is literally the first person they've indicted that I've heard about in all the things. So she's British.
That's very good, Ron. Very good.
With all those gaps in her teeth, I guess so. After being arrested and accused of helping an illegal immigrant evade ICE last month, the grand jury reviewed the charges brought forth in a complaint, and as a check on the prosecutor's power, determined that enough probable cause existed to continue the case. Dugan faces one count of obstructing or impeding a proceeding before a department or agency. And another of concealing an individual to prevent his discovery and arrest. Her next court appearance was previously scheduled for May 15th, and she could face more disciplinary actions against her license to practice law. According to her defense attorney, she maintains her innocence and expects to be vindicated in court. She was assigned to preside over a hearing for a Mr. Flores Ruiz, a Mexican national who was charged with domestic violence, on April 18th. Flores Ruiz had been previously deported in 2013. There was no evidence that he had re-entered the country legally. FBI agents and deportation officers planned to arrest him after the hearing. However, according to the affidavit, witnesses said Dugan apparently visibly upset and had a confrontational, angry demeanor upon learning of the arrest party's arrival. They alleged that Dugan escorted Flores Ruiz and his lawyer out of the courtroom through a jury door, which leads to a non-public area of the courthouse. After she ordered the team of FBI and deportation officials to go to the chief judge's office. This jury door is normally used by defendants only if they are in custody of deputies. Another officer, according to the affidavit, noticed that Flores Ruiz and his lawyer on an elevator and alerted the arrest team. Flores Ruiz was apprehended after a foot chase outside the courthouse. Kash Patel, the FBI director, said investigators believe Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from Flores Ruiz as the officers were preparing to arrest him in the courthouse where the judge works. Gentlemen, we got her.
Yeah, I think this is a long time coming. I think it's absolutely necessary. Should have been done a long time ago. It's textbook definition of sedition, or at the very least hindering the law enforcement. So she swore an oath to uphold the law, and she did not.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing of an officer of a court is they're compelled to follow the directions of law enforcement and to follow the rules and laws of the country or the place where they're a member of the court, right? And even defense lawyers and things like that can only do so much. There are certain acts that they have to, as an officer of court, they have a separate kind of responsibility, especially like if their client threatens somebody or something along those lines. So, and a judge is the same way. She has to, follow these legal directives. Joe, in the past, 24, 48 hours, I've heard, this is not the only time I've heard them kind of doubling down on some of the judges who have been essentially undemocratically imposing their will on the body politic, whether it's keeping the Trump administration from taking out certain actions, putting barriers in place to keep other actions from going on, or like this one, literally playing hide and go seek with a defendant in order to see him be able to go free. I guess the fact that the tide seems to be going against some of these judges, I think, is a good sign. But the fact that these judges think that they have the unilateral right to stop unelected judges, have the unilateral right to stop the actions of the elected government. I guess we've always just kind of trusted judges to do the right thing, and for the most part they have, but all of a sudden they've lost their mind. Maybe this is a good litmus test to see who should be targeted for impeachment.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I actually reached out to Sean to see if he wanted to come on and talk about this kind of stuff, because like I just don't know enough about it to be smart on what's going on with all these judges and what you can do about it. But you know, you can't be experts on everything. But I think this is important. Watcher, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, one of the viewers brought it up. This is a very liberal district, so expect nothing to happen until at very least the appeal.
Oh, just me. It ain't cheap. 1999 grumpy grandpa advice. Don't be with stupid people doing stupid things at stupid times. You're greatly lower your chance of trouble. It's a family rule handed down from father to son. If only that Mr. Hinton had passed that down to his son.
I first heard it from a South African phrase slightly differently. It says, "Don't go stupid places with stupid people to do stupid things at stupid hours." And that's a great point. Almost as good as yours, just me. Pretty close, but yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's funny. I heard that exact same phrase from someone who I think lives probably like in the same city.
I left out places. Yeah, well, nobody's perfect, man. I hear you. That's the grandpa in you. You boomered it. All right, Stormy is going back to work. Glad you could join us, Stormy. Nice to see you. All right. I think I got one more kind of like bonus on. Yeah. Oh, I thought this was really funny, guys. The media is so. This has got to be like the height of the media, basically like losing their minds. No, not this one. This go to the notes and you'll see a bonus one.
Ooh, bonus odd and end, man.
Yeah. This is
been a long time.
I thought this is interesting because I hate the media, like the mainstream media, and this just goes to show you how fucking stuck on stupid they are. The inclusion of Tim Pool in the White House press room was the last straw for many members of the White House press corps who were reportedly working with lawyers to launch a legal challenge against the White House for allowing non-credentialed citizen journalists in the room.
So the people who screech about the First Amendment and the free press want to limit who the free press is.
That's exactly right, Joe.
Oh, the irony.
Exactly. And so and the fact that it's Tim Pool that's driven them over the fucking edge. I mean, let's be honest. He was one of them. He was some left-wing nut.
Absolutely a raging leftist. Yes.
And he saw, I mean, let's be honest. He's a perfect example of like not just taking the red pill, but drinking the red Kool-Aid. And now he's still not like a perfect card-carrying conservative, but if you listen to the guy now, he's definitely woken up on a lot of the issues that most of us kind of go down the rabbit hole. And and I'm okay if I disagree with somebody 10, 15%.
Hold on, I have to interrupt. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
We have these. You see them? Delicious.
Huevos rancheros.
Burritos that Matt just made.
Nice.
So, tacos, I mean, not burritos, but so good stuff. Good things are happening.
See, I can cook.
You can.
If anybody doubts, I'm
Hey, Matt, the secret to being a guy who can cook is you only need to know like how to cook 5 things, but you need to know you need to be on point with those 5 things.
Nah, you can cook anything. The trick is slow and low.
Yeah.
Slow and low.
Slow and low. Don't be in a hurry. Don't be in a hurry to cook anything. I was telling those guys in there that I didn't know how to cook worth a damn until moving out to El Paso, where I had some free time on my hands, and it was just me and the wife, and just learned how to cook. Went to different places out there and watched what they were doing, and a lot of cool people. And down in El Paso were very generous in teaching me how to cook. And first rule is don't be in a hurry to do anything. Low heat and let the food do the work. So
Matt, El Paso is not all bad. There's some good people there.
El Paso is my hands down probably I'd say my favorite city. Second to San Antonio. I love San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
See, I love San Antonio. I didn't love El Paso, but
oh no,
I was stationed at Fort Bliss, so you come to love El Paso if you hang out in downtown El Paso, and if you really appreciate the culture there. I mean, like El Paso Saddle Blanket Company, watching cobblers make saddles by hand. Oh yeah. I like that. The boots,
that's incredible, man.
You can get custom boots there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like all that shit. Yeah.
If you share an appreciation, so this is another thing. Like if you share an appreciation for that art and the hard work that goes into it, they'll sit there and they will share every piece of their craft because they take that much pride in it. There's not too many places that you can say that in the United States. Like it reminded me of the kind of pride they take, in North Carolina, in Thomasville, with making furniture. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Almost to a man, there isn't a craftsman out there who isn't just really happy to show you how he does it, what he does.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, like a perfect example is you hire a plumber who's got to change your toilet or something because you don't know how to do that shit, and he starts doing it. If you go in there and just kind of ask him to show you stuff and things like that, he'd be more than happy to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody who's mastered their trade and their craft like that it almost always has the heart of a teacher. So.
Oh yeah, no doubt. It's
I wanted. There's a New York Post story that's attached to this, and I wanted to pull a couple quotes out. Matt, you weren't here when we started this one. Evidently, the White House press pool is losing their mind over Tim Pool being in the press room. And basically, they want to take them to court to basically say we should be the ones that get to say who gets to ask questions
in the press room.
Well, I mean, they do a rotating like new media kind of so like people like Tim Pool come in.
Let me cue this up. So, the White House Press Corps is a private institution. It is not actually run by the White House at all. It has traditionally been made up of like old media people. And traditionally it's been like White House correspondents, and then they kind of promote themselves inside this. It's kind of like a union, sort of. Awful, terrible, unconstitutional, should not exist. They've specifically had a history forever of boxing out any kind of new media. And I mean any kind of new media. In fact, there's a lot of the people who are like in heavy seats now who at one point, like Washington Post at one point was never allowed in the room. Like they were outsiders who were never allowed to be part of anything. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's this kind of power play that they've been running for a really long time. When Trump came in, he killed all that. He said, no, like this should not exist. It cannot exist. You guys have no power here. This has only been like a mutual recognition that's existed, and I have no mutual recognition of you. Be gone, fuckers. When they did that, they specifically opened up this really kind of cool thing where they said, hey, we have this form. It's on whitehouse.gov. You can go there. You can fill it out. It doesn't matter how big your media organization is, even if it's just a single person with a microphone and a camera. you will be put into a lottery system and we will pull you from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
awesome.
well, it's they have a monopoly on it, and you gotta. I think when you come to realize that the media has a vested interest in perpetuating narratives, and that there's that whole element to it. It's substantially easier to do when you don't have the alternative media in there either. It's part of the reason they came after Alex Jones as hard as they did when he really got big during the Obama administration. And then, what we see today with Natalie Winters, I think, is probably the best example of this.
Yeah.
They had a complete meltdown, and there was a lot of like mean girl stuff that was hurled at her because she's an objectively beautiful woman. There's no doubt. And you had people like Kennedy going after her, the former MTV V girl going after her. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, why are you writing pieces like this? This is coming off all wrong. But that was the point. Was the legacy media knows that it's dying, and it's in its death grasp right now. It's taking its final gasps, and they can't control that media, and that's what they're desperately afraid of. They're desperately afraid. The NRO types. They've controlled the neoconservative establishment, the Bill Kristols. They know that they've been pushed out. We're seeing the next iteration of that right now. This rift between Trump and Netanyahu is a big piece of that. Although Tim Pool plays into that a bit as well, and you can make it out what you will, but that's just the truth. But it is interesting, and when you have someone like Poole, who has the amount of reach that he has, that's for the most part it's organic. Tim Poole is for the most part an organic person in terms of his following, because he has a message that resonates, and in a lot of ways it resonates across the spectrum. He himself was a leftist. He was one of the organizers of Occupy Wall Street.
Well, actually,
if you don't know that nowadays, but he was.
I can pull some of that up actually. So that's when I came across Tim, and that's why I respected Tim. Is that it was a time when I was like, look, he's a leftist, but he's on the streets and he's showing us what these other leftists are doing, and he's being attacked for it. Which I was like, look, I think he's a goofy fuckwad, but I respect the hell out of him for what he's doing. And then when he got off the streets is when problems arose.
he was the one that broke the story that the Bernie bros were getting pushed out by the Antifa types. They're at Occupy.
Yeah,
and the critical race theory folks and all that stuff.
That's right. He's the reason that we know that they broke up that Wall Street specifically broke them up. He's actually one of the ones who went and traced where the money for those other activists came from.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm about to say is usually an unpopular opinion, especially with conservatives. But if you show me a quote unquote liberal who is watching or consuming news from, let's say, the Young Turks, for example. I think that's a good contemporary example. I think a lot of people in the audience know. I know when I see that this is a person that at least recognizes there's a problem. Now, we differ on what the solution to said problem is, and probably what the root cause of it is.
Agreed.
But at the same time, we converge on the fact that there is an issue and that there is righteous anger to be pointed at certain elements that are causal factors of it. So it's, for example, this explains why MSNBC continues to have sliding ratings, because your current street leftist today or workaday liberal, because there are two different things, by the way. This is the reason that they're not consuming their news from people like Rachel Maddow. Like you got old liberals that are doing that, and they're dying off in droves. They're checking out, or they're literally leaving the gene pool. So that's why legacy media in totes, and compare it to Fox News. Conservatives this time around, your Gen, I would say millennials and Gen Z are not watching Fox and have a very strong dislike for the presentation style of Fox News.
Yeah, especially males, especially younger males, and they're and oddly enough, they're finding themselves getting their news from almost exclusively right-leaning pundits and podcasts and things like that.
My point behind it all being kind of the culmination here is that when you realize that there are liberals or maybe even leftists who recognize there is a substantial problem, and politics maybe is not the solution to all the things. That's someone that you can at least find common ground with, and you absolutely should. Yeah. You absolutely should. This is actually something I've been trying to do in earnest at home. You ain't gonna win them over, not in every case, but you got to realize that they might be useful, and when they become turncoats to their own, maybe they begin to question their own motivations. You get people like Tim Pool. You get somebody who's a real fighter. You may not even like the guy or agree with everything you say. That's fine. That's your right to do so. But that's the important point behind that, is he realized that this is something that I'm putting all this energy into this over here, but I realize that my motivations behind it are maybe misplaced. I turn that energy into something else, and you take it in a very positive direction. Don't miss that.
No, I think that's all very well said, and that's the reason why the media is making such a big deal about this, because this is one of this is one of the final institutionalized monopolies that they had, and they're trying to fight for it.
Well, so go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I just want to address a quick comment from the chat, which is failing liberal media's cope. Pendulum always swings back. There's much work to do. No one's knocked out yet. Look, that's somewhat true, but at the same time, okay, show me the relevance of radio. Like, no, it is actually failing, and no, there is no coming back from this. It's a media platform consumption shift. It flat out is what it is.
The media. The way that people consume media has fundamentally changed. And this is something, I think this is Lafayette Lee says. I don't recall. It's somebody on Twitter that says, I think it's a pretty profound way to encapsulate this, is that they created the internet and not realizing basically the Pandora's box that was going to open, the consequences of the locus of control being disrupted, the locus of social control being disrupted. And they're desperate to put that genie back in a bottle and cannot do so. It's a very profound statement to think about. We consume, this podcast is one very good way of that. I mean, when you look at the ratings, and anyone can do this, you look at the ratings of conventional media, where they used to do millions. Millions. I think CBS News in its prime, when Dan Rather was the presenter there, they were doing 10 million a night.
Yep.
And now they're down in the hundreds of thousands. Nobody's watching them. Nobody even cares. Like, it used to be such a big deal. You had Dan Rather, you had Peter Jennings, and you had Tom Brokaw. You're going to get the news from one of the three of them, right? And that was all you got. That was the news. Well, and you believe what they said. Now nobody can tell you who's in the driver's seat of these news presentations, because nobody cares. It doesn't matter.
We're 4 years on from 2020, and I remember back in 2020, Tim Pool was saying, "Listen, I've got more people in the key demo than any one of the network news broadcasts." And the key demo is really all they look at which is that 18 to 35-year-old, because that's the one the ad sales people want to sell their products to.
Let's be clear about that, because he wasn't just, when he revealed his numbers, he was actually off, because he was using the media's own numbers, not the corrected numbers people have done where they correct them. Okay. So when we figure out how many he actually has, it was orders of magnitude higher. Yeah. Not like, a couple thousand off, like, oh my God.
Well, you don't even have to compare your own numbers. I mean, I know he did that for the desired effect of aggrandization, but you just look at their failing numbers. You used to pull in 10 million people a night. Like, I remember it was such a huge deal that Dan Rather had lied about George W. Bush.
Yeah.
Like, that was such a huge deal. Now the MSM does this about Trump hourly. Hourly, man. Yeah. And but it's irrelevant. And the reason it's irrelevant is not because they're doing it. It's irrelevant because they're irrelevant. Nobody even cares anymore. Like my podcast, when I had time to crank out content every day, I was getting higher numbers than what's the black chick on CNN?
Joy Reid.
Yeah. You're getting higher numbers than Joy Reid, man. And it's like, it's not, she's getting in barely 100,000 views in her primetime show, right? Nobody cares what she's saying. It's just not, nobody gives a damn what Joy Reid is saying. She's an irrelevant person. She's not a person of consequence anymore. And the entire mainstream media has run into that. And I saw one of the comments saying that, a lot of the podcasts like this one and, whatever, we're talking about mainstream media topics. That might be true because those are the headlines, right? I would agree with that because we're talking about headlines. But even still, when you look at a lot of the breaking news and the news cycles, where are they sourcing their information from? X, Telegram,
Cytogenesis.
I would say to a lesser degree, probably Facebook still, but that's dying quickly. And where's Twitter or X and Facebook getting their information? Usually Telegram. Telegram is the fastest medium now of where information is being promulgated. So, we might be talking about headlines and whatnot that are sourced from the MSM. But as far as the commentary end of it, nobody's talking about it anymore because nobody cares.
Yeah. Well, no, those are all really good points.
And let's be honest. I want to tell you guys, like, there's a couple things that I do actually get to bring something unique here. As you may or may not know, I used to work in radio. And I could tell you that I also did some work with a lot of TV people when I worked in radio. And the funny truth is, this was always the Wizard of Oz illusion. The numbers were always fake. Do you know how we came up with how you can, like, literally not just us, like the industry standard for how you came up with telling advertisers how many ears your show reached was you did these surveys that you specifically pitched.
Really small numbers of people, by the way.
Correct. Incredibly small numbers of people. And you controlled who those people were. And then you guesstimated based off of population density off of that and how many ears your radio could possibly reach. And that's how many you were reaching. And that's how many you got paid for. It was always fake. And so, look, it's very much like the Chinese. Right? Do you remember when the Chinese Communist Party then and now was reporting fake numbers, and as a result of which they didn't actually know what was happening in their own country and so couldn't adjust properly and actually like make the changes necessary in order to adjust things? When your numbers are always fake, you don't know when you're failing and you can't pull yourself out of that. It was all
there's no real feedback loop.
Correct.
Self-congratulatory.
So, but now let's not kid ourselves, because there are multiple media phases of life and there are multiple different media strategies for life. And I'm gonna tell you right now what the traditional media is going to turn into very shortly. They're going to conglomerate, and they're going to turn into a lifestyle brand that is essentially made to keep the bubble people who want to stay in their bubble comfortable. That is going to be their business model. They're going to be a subscription service, and it's going to sell like hotcakes.
Fox is already experimenting with that. Have been for a few years. That whole Fox Nation thing. You spot on.
Yeah.
Spot
Yeah.
on.
But the problem is nobody wants Fox content in that manner, right? You know, they want content that actually is authentic. So, all right, guys.
Finish breakfast. All right. Hey, outstanding, by the way. Good stuff.
Speaking
Love
of
you
Matt,
guys. Right here.
we're gonna do your promo now. We've got now that you know.
Oh yeah, hold on,
yeah.
wait. Stick around for that. We need your face on camera while we do a promo.
All right, so now that Matt's here, well, it's no better time than to do our brushbeater.store ad. So we're excited to bring you another ad from our trusted sponsor, the Brushbeater Store, reminding you to stay prepared no matter the headlines. See, I knew we were going to talk about this, and so I peace breaking out in the Middle East in 2025 would be a win, but don't let that lull you into complacency. Threats can emerge anywhere, from cyber attacks to domestic unrest. At brushbeater.store, they've got your back with gear, training, and to keep you ready. The DM32 radio with AES 256 encryption ensures secure off-grid comms when the grid falters. Want to master your setup? Grab the Gorilla Guide to the Baofeng radio by our buddy Matt here. Your go-to for tactical radio operations in any crisis. For hands-on skills, their 2025 Scout course teaches recon, patrolling, and survival tactics with classes in North Carolina, Missouri, and Montana, where they're at right now. Let's see, and more. Check out brushbeater.store/collection/training-courses to join before spots fill. Use exclusive code CFC10 at checkout for 5% off the DM32, the book, the Scout course, or any other gear like night vision or ballistic helmets. Offers over $100 shipped for free. Visit brushbeater.store and stay vigilant. Big thanks to Matt here,
Big thanks to
owner and steadfast supporter of the Council on Future Conflicts, and our community's readiness is rock solid. Thanks to you, Matt. Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you, brother. That was a professional's fight.
Dude, I mean, it's the one thing I know how to do.
I love it, man.
I'm going to bring up something that we haven't brought up in a while. It's a ways off. You may have heard this as a meme on Twitter. Many people talk about this specific thing. And if you yourself want to be a part of the Fighting Carbine course, I see that the next appearance is going to be the 6th through 7th of September.
Yep. We've got it. It's going to be a nice time of the year.
In North Carolina?
Yep. It's going to be hot.
Maybe I need to. What days of the week is that? Is that a weekend?
Yeah, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, I might have to see if I can't get my progeny out there for that.
You know,
absolutely.
We also have a small announcement to make about October. We will both, as in the two of us, be at Mountain Readiness, and then one day after Mountain Readiness, I'll be doing the field craft at his place, followed by the Scout and Recce. So.
Yep.
You can really, in a week and a half, you can get Mountain Readiness in, where there's a lot of great content, a lot of great people to meet. Then you can get some fantastic training in over at the Brushbeater camp, and highly recommend it.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, let me ask you a question. If would you advise sending a non-shooter to that course?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
she'll be a shooter by the end. That's for sure.
Okay.
By the end of the first day. Yeah. It's so, we're the Fighting Carbine course, the POI, the class is very similar to what Jerry Barnhart was running back in the day. It's kind of one of I think that was the first professional class that I took, and it made a profound impact on me, as well as a lot of other very well-known trainers out there. And, it's designed to take someone from the basement level and bring you up. Foundational drills, it's let's focus on the fundamentals. If you want to sit there and shoot fast at stationary targets and all that, we ain't doing that. We're focused on making you a better shooter. On the second day, we focus on movement. So you're going to be running the 9-hole barricades. You're going to be moving between barricades. You're going to be doing that with an emphasis on accuracy. It's
slow and
and
smooth and fast kind of stuff.
absolutely. The speed will come. This is what I tell everybody repeatedly. The speed will come. The speed will absolutely come. Don't worry about, trying to be fat. You're not in a competition in this class. You're trying to become more accurate. So I have a great time teaching it. It's one of my favorite courses to teach. That and SIGINT. I would say Fighting Carbine and Signals Intelligence course are my two favorite courses to teach.
And I've been in Fighting Carbine. It's a fantastic course when there's not a thunderstorm that threatens to wash us away. But it is a great course.
Yeah.
When does SIGINT start this week? Is it today?
Monday.
Immediately following RTO course.
Okay. Shoot. I need to talk to wife. My stay might be a little extended.
All right. Joe, you want to plug anything?
Yeah, y'all might not know this, but I sell books. We sell the Tactical Wisdom series. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on my website. Get on there and buy those. If you buy them on my website, they come signed by me. They just take a little bit longer because they're coming out of the great state of Montana, so it takes a little bit to get them to you. But I recommend people start with a baseline training manual, work your way through. The fieldcraft skills are really, really vital. I recommend everyone definitely do that and take the class. So on top of that, I have community security class coming up next weekend right here. We've got a bunch of folks already signed up, so there are still some seats available. Go there to tactical-wisdom.com/training and check it out. And then there'll be a lot more coming up. I did update my schedule for the second half of the year. I just have to add in the brush beater course, fieldcraft course. But I'll tell you, in the middle of the summer there, you'll see I've got a field training exercise plan. Folks are going to come out here. I'm going to brief them on a mission when they arrive, and we're going to go out in the field, and they're going to run a 2-day FTX where they're actually putting the skills that you learn either in my fieldcraft class or Matt's scout course. You're actually going to get out there, do a real world mission, and then come on back and do an actual patrol report on it. So pretty interesting stuff. Check that out. Got a lot going on out here this year.
Yeah, this is going to be a great year to get plugged in to both Matt and Joe's efforts. And the great thing about it is 2 different locations, 2 very different types of kind of terrain. So don't be afraid to check out both. Let's be honest. There's a lot of good and bad reasons to get out there on the road and explore the country. Going to Montana and going to North Carolina are about 2 of the best places I could think of worth driving to. The Great American Road Trip is alive. You just didn't realize it was tactical training at the end of it.
Right on.
All right, let me catch up with some super chats here. Yeah, we'll see you, Matt.
Love y'all.
Durnough2 for $5 says, Scott, as a PAO, you probably credentialed a lot of journalists. It's literally a letter from their boss. Credentials might as well be a note from your mom. Yeah, the interesting thing is that, with the mainstream media, nobody shows up unannounced. You always know kind of who's coming. Sometimes the name might be off, but it'll be like, well, the journalist is the same person, but the cameraman is a different cameraman. And then here's the other thing too, is when it's an independent journalist who wants to get access, usually they are the ones who are super communicative about that. And so credentialing is very much a kind of an art form rather than a science. So you got to kind of figure out who the right person is and whatnot. And you just can't let anybody in too. And the sad thing is, Joe, Watcher, you guys wouldn't believe, we had to let in Press TV and Xinhua and adversary news agencies that were state-owned. The one that they kind of shut down in Korea, back a long time ago, was Sputnik. Because and RT.
Oh, shit, they had Sputnik in Korea.
I think RT still had access to some of the stuff, 10, 15 years ago, but Sputnik, to the best of my knowledge, Sputnik's never had access to U.S. military press availabilities. Let's see. Random PNW guy 84 for $2 says the press room should be based on how many readers/viewers they have. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? The bigger your audience, the closer to the front you get to be, maybe. All right. Let's so that was a fun diversion. I'm never against having a guest who can take us down a fun rabbit hole. So that was cool. All right, so the new order. So this is not the new world order. I mean, this is a new order of things in the Middle East, and we're seeing several related things. So the first is the kind of seemingly breaking out of conflict between Bibi Netanyahu and Donald Trump or the Trump administration. There's rumors have come out that Waltz being sidelined off the National Security Council had a lot to do with the fact that supposedly he was pushing a lot of AIPAC kind of talking points. Like I'm loath to kind of I get it. AIPAC is a influence organization. They have a point of view to push. It's not evil. It's just they have a point of view, and to the extent that serves U.S. interests, then it's useful. Going into Saudi Arabia, Netanyahu apparently told Trump that, hey, don't drop the sanctions against Syria. Basically, kind of try. I get the feeling, like based on the reports, that they were trying to dictate American policy in the region. Hey, let us lead the policy, and I don't think Trump, his ego doesn't allow him to let other people lead him by the nose. So I think that's probably one of the things. Now, does it mean that the Netanyahu's on the outs permanently? I doubt it. A week and a half from now, we could see Netanyahu and Donald Trump meeting in public and smiling and shaking hands, and some Israeli trade deal could break out or something like that. But that's the life of a deal maker, I guess. He's talking shit one day and glad handing with the person who's talking shit about the next. And so that's kind of what we're going to get to here. Trump torches neocons and interventionists, emphasizing peace through strength deal making in major Saudi speech. So we've got some highlights. We've got I think the videos are embedded in this. Yeah. Here we go. They were just taking a while to load. Let's see some of these clips and see what old Trump had to say.
And also
Syria.
with President Erdogan of Turkey, who called me the other day and asked for a very similar thing, among others, and friends of mine, people that I have a lot of respect for in the Middle East. I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness.
I don't think Elon's as excited as MBS is about that. And so he gets a standing ovation for that in Saudi Arabia, obviously. I get the feeling that MBS is trying to basically orchestrate, a Saudi-led peace, essentially, in the Middle East.
Oh, what I do for the Crown Prince.
Wow. The homoeroticism. So the markets took off after that. He said people should have listened. We've never had anything like it. Business executives weren't happy when they saw me a month ago, but that changed tuned as the markets rose. And so this is, while Syria, I think, is leading the headlines coming out of this deal, this Saudi trip. It was definitely a business first deal. So here's some more
This is another quote from Donald Trump. Mohammed, do you sleep at night? How do you sleep? He said, addressing the Crown Prince. Critics doubted it was possible what you've done, but over the last 8 years, Saudi Arabia has proved the critics totally wrong. Instead of the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by these people of the region themselves. So this is the attack on the neocons, and I totally agree with this, right? The way you let countries develop is to let them do it on their fucking own, right? You don't have to pay for it. You know, in fact, now you've got Saudi Arabia investing money in the U.S., right? And buying like loads, gads of our stuff. Let's see, developing your own sovereignty, pursuing your own unique visions, and charting your own destinies in your own way. Trump said it was his fervent wish that Saudi Arabia will soon be joining the Abraham Accords, but ultimately conceded that the kingdom will do it in its own time. It will be a special day in the Middle East with the world watching when Saudi Arabia joins us. We're going to, you'll be greatly honoring me, and it will be greatly honoring all those people who have fought so hard for the Middle East. And I really think it's going to be something special, but you'll do it on your own time, and that's what I want. That's what you want, and that's the way it's going to be. The irony is that he's basically saying, I want you to sign it now, but you're going to do it on your own time. And that's what I want. And he basically takes credit for Saudi Arabia not immediately, doing it. Joining the Abraham Accords, that is.
What's the most important thing? Peace in the Middle East or the Abraham Accords?
I mean, I think Trump thinks they're synonymous, but you and I know that's not necessarily the case, because that's thinking like an American and not thinking like somebody from the Middle East.
Yeah. I know we brought it up before the show. I don't know if we discussed it here. This was another notable video.
Oh yeah. This is the arrival.
Yeah. Scott, you want to tell them why that's special?
Yeah, so this is the normal Donald Trump coming down Air Force One, but the thing that's different here is not Donald Trump and it's not Air Force One. It's the guy at the bottom of the steps, and we saw a clip of him there for a second. That guy meeting Donald Trump as he walks off the plane right there, that's MBS. That is essentially the ruler of Saudi Arabia. Now, he is the crown prince and not the king, but the king is essentially, infirm and out of the picture. So the fact that he greeted him on the ground is a kind of special thing, because he doesn't do that. He didn't do that for Joe Biden. It was some, kind of a foreign ministry guy who greeted Joe Biden when he came. It was, MBS like greeted him at the palace. So it just the optics alone of this trip are pretty telling. Joe, you got any
MBS broke out the good Crocs for the meeting too.
the deluxe man dress.
Yeah.
Let's see. Here's another set of quotes about Iran. In the case of Iran, I've never believed in having permanent enemies. I'm different than a lot of people think. I don't like permanent enemies. Sometimes you need enemies to do the job, and you have to do it right. Enemies get you motivated, Trump said. I want to make a deal with Iran. I can make a deal with Iran. I'll be very happy if we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. He offered a much brighter future if Tehran will do a deal. If Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice to inflict maximum pressure and take all action required to stop the regime from ever having a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. So let's be honest. He's saying the right thing right there. He's drawing the line at ever allowing Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Of course, Iran wants to kind of do everything they can to essentially keep that in play. So it'll be interesting to see where they come out on that. Joe, I want to just say, on that video where they turn that fucking car right around and literally pull the door right up to the carpet, I thought that was some pretty good precision driving. And
It's a standard arrival. You always want to arrive on the passenger side, and you always want to arrive exactly at the space you want to be. It takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, but making that tight turn and just ending up right on the I thought that was good. And there was a guy standing right there that he basically he might have been tempted to take a step back, but he, as probably a Secret Service guy, he was probably knew exactly where they would be. So
yeah, well, there's usually an agent standing right where the car is supposed to stop. So
yeah, and they kind of go and handle the door and all that kind of stuff. And all right, lifting sanctions on Syria. So we already kind of saw that. So this is the part that I really kind of liked. So in the end, the so-called nation. Okay, so he blasted neocons and liberal interventionalists. The fact that he said liberal interventionalists, that tells me that somebody who wrote this is like really keyed in on the important stuff. He said, in the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far many more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they didn't understand. The gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits, so the NGOs, the USAID folks, like those who spent trillions failing to develop Kabul and Baghdad. In Syria, which has seen so much misery and death, there's a new government that we must all hope will succeed in stabilizing the country and keeping peace. And so I get where he's going there. I don't, emotionally, I don't think that we should ever deal with a terrorist, whether he was a terrorist yesterday or 3 years ago. And this guy who's in charge is he was an Al-Qaeda guy. So I don't know. Off the top of my head, I'd say you shouldn't be dealing with him. But Trump's president, not me, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And if he gets results in the end, I guess that's all that matters. I know a lot of people are still asked out that he met with Kim Jong-un, but I thought that was a good call.
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, well, he's the third leader within a family,
legitimately,
right? And he's not a foreigner.
Yeah.
Well, his grandfather was a foreign agent, a Soviet agent, essentially, but he was at least born in North Korea. Let's see, Gaza and Yemen. So on the topic Gaza and Yemen, Trump said the people of Gaza deserve much better future, but what will or cannot occur as long as their leaders choose kidnap, torture, and targeting of innocent men, women, and children for political ends. Trump also proclaimed that he ordered the cessation of U.S. Houthi hostilities in the Red Sea after the Pentagon flexed its military might. And I think we saw Ben Gurion Airport get hit the next day, and the Houthis specifically said, "Hey, listen, we didn't stop ceasefire with Israel." And I'm pretty sure that that's not how Trump saw it. And then there's a bunch of details on the business stuff that's going on here. A lot of business deals going both ways. I assume that there's probably a trade deal in the offing if there hasn't already been one signed. So we talked about the break-in protocol for MBS to rush to greet Trump at there, and so the news media is actually noticing that as well. It says here the greeting was typically lavish as Trump was received by the Royal Terminal at the King Khalid International Airport in Riyadh. That's an interesting airport, by the way. After which he and MBS walked a lavender carpet and sat down amidst marble columns. He got the horse guard escort in. We saw that video earlier. And then a lot of AI stuff happening in this. There's, Saudi Arabia really wants to, bring in, basically sell American AI tech to Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia wants to diversify out of a petrol-based economy into something more futuristic. So this is another kind of part of that big strategy. All right. So let's focus more on like this whole Syria thing. Just real quick, these are some like a collection of posts that talk about the Trump's engagement. So he didn't just say this; he actually met with Jelani. Donald Trump met with Syrian President Ahmad al-Shara. Jelani's his real name. Al-Shara was his what is it? His Al-Qaeda name or whatever. In Saudi Arabia, signaling a shift in U.S. policy, lifted sanctions on Syria. This meeting, facilitated by Crown Prince MBS, included discussions on normalizing relations with Syria and Israel. The meeting follows Trump's comments about his leadership and his past as a former insurgent leader. Some would say terrorist, but Joe, I think this is an appropriate place for you to kind of make full voice to your kind of take on this, because I know I'm a little ambivalent on it, but you're not ambivalent at all. So why don't you kind of throw your?
I think this is an absolutely terrible mistake. It gives Jelani a level of legitimacy that he doesn't have. He controls 1/4 of the country by force of arms, and in that quarter of the country, they're literally wiping out Christianity and Druze religions. Not a man to be seen with. I get it. In politics, you have to deal with people you don't like, but you don't pose with a photo next to them like your best buds.
And not just Druze, not just religious minorities, but ethnic minorities as well, with the Alawites being specifically targeted, despite the fact that they are Muslims as well.
Yep. I just think we shouldn't be giving him any legitimacy. And I get it. It's not about, I guess a lot of people don't get it. It's not about Trump meeting with him because he's the leader of Syria. It's about everyone else in the world seeing, well, if Donald Trump met with him, we must now suddenly decide that this guy is the ruler of Syria. He's not. He doesn't control the whole country at all.
So there's a couple things on here that I want to, so go to the next one here. So this is kind of a list of the demands that are being reportedly kind of bandied about, from sources within the White House. This is a Clash report, X post. Trump demands from Syrian president, according to the White House, is number one is to sign on to the Abraham Accords with Israel. That's the next post. This is the one in the list right above that one. The second one is to tell all foreign terrorists to leave Syria. Does that include Jelani? Number 3, deport Palestinian terrorists. Number 4, help the U.S. prevent the resurgence of ISIS. Number 5,
Jelani's guilty on 2 counts because he's also a Palestinian terrorist.
Is he Palestinian? I thought he was Iraqi.
Jelani, Golan Heights.
Okay. And then assume responsibility for ISIS detention centers in northeast Syria. I mean, okay, so here's the thing. I mean, I'm not going to comment on whether or not I think Trump should even be meeting with this guy. Let's just look at this as a list of, if you just take for that this is going to happen, is this a good list of things for them to focus on? I think it's in the right area. I think the problem is, Joe, is it's going to be really hard for them to split these guys are part of the, they're HTS, they're now in the Syrian military. Well, but they're
correct.
They're from Iraq, or they're from Jordan, or but they're Syrians now because they've been fighting in Syria for the last 10 years. Well, A, bullshit, and B, they need to be from Syria. If they're a foreign fighter that came to fight in Syria, they need to then leave Syria. I think these are good things to ask for. They're very aspirational. There's no way that you can check and see if they're true.
Yeah, I'm just reading Trump's comments on al-Shara, and they're ridiculous. But anyway.
Oh yeah. The next one. So let's go to the next one, and Joe, I'll let you comment on this. Yeah, this is the one. So I get why he's doing this. He's trying to play politics, right? But I also get the feeling that he doesn't get the reality of who this guy is that he's trusting with all this stuff. Trump on Syrian President Giuliani. He's a young, attractive guy, tough guy, strong pass, very strong pass, fighter. I mean, I could literally hear Donald Trump saying that. He's riffing off the top of his head, and he's doing all the things that you have to do in politics to say nice things about somebody you don't like.
No.
I'm saying that's what he's doing here. I don't agree with it. I'm just saying that's what he's doing.
He doesn't have to either. He doesn't say nice things about Maduro.
I agree with you. He says nice things about Putin, right? So we all agree Putin's a bad guy, but he says, oh, he's a strong leader.
I'm gonna disagree with you that Putin and al-Shara are anywhere on the same level.
Yeah, I think you're right, Joe. I think Putin's killed a lot more people.
Okay.
I had to poke you on that one. I get
murdering and beheading people is not quite the same.
I get where you're coming from, and I'm not justifying it or saying it's the right thing to do. I'm just saying this is what he's doing. I'm trying to understand what he's doing, and I'm trying to not take a side on this because I don't think it's helpful.
Disagree. So,
all right. I mean, okay. So I guess I'll be honest with you. This is the reality of realpolitik, and this is the reason why a lot of people don't like it. I mean, honestly,
you don't have to play that game.
I agree with you. You don't have to. But if somebody chooses to do it, that's how you do it. This is how you find yourself on the side of a fascist dictator who promises to fight communism back in the Cold War, right? You have two evil choices and you choose one, right? And I don't know if he thinks that this guy is a lesser evil. I think he's actually the worst evil in the neighborhood, honestly. I mean, I see him the same way you see him, Joe. I'm just trying to square the circle of what our president that we voted for is doing.
And all I'm trying to say is we don't have to square that circle. We can say it's wrong. It's okay. Not everything Daddy T does is the correct thing.
I got it. I'm not trying to make a judgment on it. I'm trying to understand his motivation is what I'm trying to do. I'm not making I don't have to make a judgment. I know it's wrong. I'm not, that goes without saying. It's like saying water's wet. I know water's wet. Now, why are you doing what is it you're doing with water? That's what I'm trying to understand. So I just think I don't think we're fundamentally off base. I just think we're looking at different things. All right, so let's move on to the next portion here. So this is the kind of, so just so you know who this guy is, if this is the first time checking into our program and you are not up on who's this Giuliani guy that they're talking about, looks like a guy in a suit, seems all right to me. Well, this is who he is. Rise of Syria's new leader. I just wanted to, this shows you who the guy is. 2012, once known as Abu Mohab al-Jolani, Shara fought with al-Qaeda in Iraq, spent years in U.S. prison, and later became a leader of the Nusra Front, al-Qaeda's official Syria branch. And so and that transitioned him from Iraq into the Syria fight, which is around 2012. 2014, he encountered significant challenges and intense clashes with ISIS. Nusra Front, which he led, came to the point of collapse due to pressure from ISIS and defection of foreign fighters. Right. And so, I'll be honest with you, I think ISIS is the thing that kind of maybe scared the shit out of him. And it made him start to tack more towards Turkey because he needed a pop of sugar to basically bail his ass out of the fire. When ISIS was like a tidal wave over that country. 2016, he strengthened his organization again. After several discussions, he announced his departure from al-Qaeda and the global jihad movement. Aleppo fell. He sought a more inclusive rebel coalition within the Syrian opposition. He has established close relations with Turkey, which is exactly what I said. He basically, when he got his ass kicked by ISIS, he had to say all the things he needed to say so that he could continue to do. By the way, if you look at the way Nusra Front, or HTS as it became, ran the government area of Aleppo, or not Aleppo, of Idlib province, it was essentially like ISIS light. So it wasn't completely different than ISIS. It was just maybe a little softer edged version of ISIS. So, and that's when you saw the establishment of Jabhat Fatah al-Sham. 2024. In 24, his fighters overthrew Assad, allowing him to seize power. Now, Sharara is trying to build a just and inclusive Syria, promising reforms and a break with Assad's brutal rule. Joe, I just don't see how this guy. I mean, here's the only thing that I can figure out is he's a corrupt, murderous person with absolutely no real compass. At least a person like ISIS, you know who he is, and you can trust him to act like a certain way, right? With this guy, you can't fucking trust anything he does because he's trying to play all sides against the center, and ultimately, I think he wants to cash out.
And they used the word inclusive in there twice. It tells you that's written by an American leftist. He's not inclusive at all. He's killing literally anyone who is not like them.
Well, I don't disagree with you that, this is written by Clash Report, which is not what I would call right wing, but at the same time, I do think he brought in all the people who were basically getting their ass kicked by ISIS, essentially.
Yeah, look, it's a given value of inclusivity, right? So the value of inclusivity here is very slightly different Muslims who believe that you can do very slightly more things than Al Qaeda does.
That's like saying, no, we're not just Al Qaeda. We have some Wahhabists. We also have some. We've got all the flavors of Al Qaeda. We're very inclusive.
And a couple of Hezbollah guys thrown in for good measure.
Exactly right. And we get money from Iran from time to time. We'll take money from whoever will support us.
What's sad is that we're laughing, but that's it. Like legitimately, that's actually what they're meaning.
So after the revolution, following the fall of Assad, Shara and his organization, the HTS, began the process of establishing a new government. And if you were wondering why we always kept calling them Al Qaeda when all this stuff was happening and we were covering it here on the show, it's because they were Al Qaeda. They just rebranded. That's all. That's the only thing they changed. Okay. They don't focus on international terrorism. They were focused on terrorism within Syria. But I think that's because they had identified for now. Right. That's exactly right. Because guess what happens if you kick all the foreign fighters out of HTS? Where do they go? They go back to Al Qaeda and start fighting, creating foreign terrorism. Despite various problems of government experience, an Israeli attack, Shara completed the government formation process in short time with the support of Turkey. And by the way, Turkey absolutely is showing their colors by backing him to the hilt. This just shows you that Erdogan is nothing more than an absolute Islamo-fascist with a suit. Contrary to expectations, Shara's government, which received support from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, as well as Turkey, was not based on Sharia law, despite the fact that they continued to persecute religious minorities and ethnic minorities within the country. Let's see. He repeatedly called for sanctions to be lifted for the reconstruction of Syria, i.e. so he can fill his pockets with American dollars. He established, actually, in fairness, it'll probably be Saudi Arabian and Turkish dollars, but still. He established good relations with European and neighboring countries following the conversations with the leaders of Turkey and Saudi Arabia. U.S. President Trump announced the lifting of sanctions and met with Sharif in Riyadh during his tour of the Middle East. So this is where we're at with this guy. I mean, I don't know that we're going to get away from him. Trump's clearly made this commitment. MBS wants this to happen. Trump and MBS are besties. So I think that's ultimately what it is. You know, I'm not a fan of it. But then again, I'm not writing the policy papers that has to justify it. And due to my age and infirmity, I won't be the guy who has to fight this war. Hopefully it doesn't find its way to our shores. All right. So that's who we're talking about here. There's just, so this is Trump defending this whole thing. So the next one is a video of Trump. I think this is on Air Force One after all this stuff. No, it's the, just. Yeah, that's the one. So let me just read. This is the setup here. The terrorist Trump placed a $10 million bounty on is now running Syria. As a result, Trump lifted the bounty, shook his hand yesterday. The Middle East is a tough neighborhood, and the president is setting aside his personal feelings to achieve peace in the region. This is what leadership looks like. This is the opinion of a Muse guy here. Sometimes it's humbling and very uncomfortable. Al-Jawani agreed to join the Abraham Accords when he's fully in control of Syria. There's the hitch. He's fully in control of Syria. How much does he control now?
Tells you how much you should pay attention to all the OSINT bros, right?
Right. Let's all right, play this video here. I think it's
well, and let's be clear why. Like, you can report that this happened, but to report it uncritically is
yeah.
Right. I think very good. Young, attractive guy, tough guy. You know, strong pass, very strong pass fighter. But he's got a real shot at pulling it together. I spoke with President Erdogan, who I'm very friendly with it. He feels he's got a shot. It's a torn up country.
Do you think Syria will join the Abraham Accords?
Yeah, but I think they have to get themselves straightened out. I told him, I hope you're going to join when it's straightened out. He said yes. But they have a lot of work to do.
How did you find the Syria?
One of the things that'll be telling us how he's going to govern is how he treats when they finally kind of integrate back together with the SDF and the Kurds up north. If they try to kind of push the purity thing up there, that's not going to fly. The Kurds will fight back, and the Kurds have got plenty of guns and butter to be able to sustain that fight. It'll be interesting to see how he does that. I don't know. How do you think Joe? What do you think the Kurds are going to do? I mean, they've been fucked over by everybody, so it's kind of like they're probably half dozen the other. In reality,
I don't know. The Kurds are going to be the Kurds. They're going to continue to hold their land. I don't think he can consolidate control at this point of Syria. Syria is a failed state. Just because we claim al-Shara is in charge of it doesn't make it not a failed state. I don't know. I do like how al-Shara hedged his bets there. Once I get full control of Syria, I've been thinking about that since you said it. I don't know that he can pull that off.
Yeah, see, that's the $64,000 question, right?
Yeah.
So there's three sections, right, that he's got to really kind of get. So he's got to get his full portion under control, because right now they're still fighting remnant forces in the north, the Latakia area. He's got to get the Turkish area under control, and the Turks have got to turn their area over to him because they have an entire section that's not Idlib that they're in control of, that kind of northeastern corner of Syria.
Yep.
Then he's got the Kurdish area. And then they got
pesky American bases in the middle.
You got Atana. Well, you've got those up in the northwest or the northeast, and as opposed to the northwest, which is the part that Turkey controls. And then you've got Atanaf down in the south by the Jordanian border. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump didn't, like when he gets back, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't start pulling the trigger on withdrawal from those areas. I would hope he would. Yeah. And then he's got Deir ez-Zor, which is the kind of the Euphrates River Valley that goes into Iraq, and that's where a lot of the ISIS remnants are still kind of hiding out. So they've got a lot of work to do in order to make that happen. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think that they could go toe to toe. Oh, and by the way, they've got the Israeli portion. I mean, you got to remember, the Israel's literally parked right off, just south of Damascus, and Israel's got to be able to give all that up, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't see that happening anytime soon, as long as Al-Jilani's still the head of state.
I don't see Al-Jilani allowing the Druze to continue to exist.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and so I don't. As long as he's there, I don't see how the Israelis could pull back. I think that's going to be a permanent. Essentially, that's going to be like the Golan Heights were following. Was it the '73 war? I think it's going to become a permanent occupation. All right. So speaking of Israel, Netanyahu was like, "Yo, bro."
Whoa, why are you dissing me, bro?
Don't lift them Syrian sanctions, bro. Israel official says. Benjamin Netanyahu requested U.S. President Donald Trump not to lift the U.S. sanctions on Syria during Netanyahu's visit to Washington last month. The official says the request was made out of concern, out of abundance of concern, that a cross-border attack similar to Hamas October 7th could come from Syria. The official spoke on the condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss the request with the media. The Prime Minister's office was not immediately responded to a request for comment on the report either. Trump on Tuesday said that he would ease sanctions on Syria and move to restore ties with its new leader. So essentially, there is a very strong thread out there, and you're seeing like multiple sources that could all be fictional. So keep that all with a grain of salt. But this rings true to me that there is a difference of opinion between the Israeli leadership and the Trump administration on this. Now, one thing that we know to be true about Trump is Trump doesn't like anybody, no matter friend or foe, to try to tell him what he's going to do. So I could see his ego basically getting bent out of whack if Bibi went kind of hard in the paint on this. I mean, Joe, does this ring true to you?
It does, and because of their long experience in the region, I would defer to Israel in this one particular case. I'm normally a rah-rah Israel guy, but in this case, they have a longer history with these people, and they understand what Jilani represents. He doesn't represent the people of Syria. He represents Islamic extremism, and he would not resist that opportunity. Jilani can never, ever actually make peace with Israel. That's why he has his bets on the other comment. He wanted the sanctions lifted, but he said, if I ever get full control. I think Bibi's right on this one. It pains me to say so, but I do think he's right.
Hey, Derna in the chat says America never fucked over the Kurds. They just expected us always to help them. No, here's the deal. After Iraq won, promises were made and promises were not kept. And Saddam was able to, after Desert Shield, Desert Storm, was able to then go and suppress the Kurds, to include the use of chemical weapons against Kurds in the north. And we didn't do it. We didn't lift a finger to stop it.
That's not true. We ran a U.S. Marine operation and created an enclave in the north.
In '94, they started all of the no-fly zone stuff, but that wasn't until '94.
I promise you, there were Marines on the ground.
In what years?
I'm not. What was it called?
I'm not denying that they didn't do it. I'm just saying it wasn't a permanent deal.
Yeah.
I honestly want to know the answer to this because.
Yeah, 91. April 6th, 91 to July 24th, 91. Provide comfort.
Yeah. No. That's what I'm saying, Joe. Is they expected that to continue forward into the future, and then we pulled all that stuff out as part of the kind of the ceasefire deals and whatnot, and then we basically didn't stop him from doing anything during the '90s. And it was '94 when they did Desert Fox, and that was when they basically shut down all the airspace in the north. I can't remember all the details. I'd have to relook it, but essentially it was so bad on the Kurds that they had to do something, and that's why the Clinton era did the no-fly zones and all that kind of stuff. And that's why everybody always says no-fly zones every time something bad starts to happen. Like that's why they were talking about no-fly zones in fucking Ukraine, like that was going to be like some sort of a bloodless solution that you could do. That only works when the people on the ground don't have like high-end SAMs and things like that, unlike Russia. All right, this is the next one is so this is the other side of this, right? This is the kind of the and I felt like this story was built more on rumor than the first one, right? Trump's patient. Oh, by the way, my support for the Netanyahu position, chat, has nothing to do with the fact that it's a Jewish country. It has to do with it's a democracy. It's a pluralistic society. They allow religious freedom in their country. It may be a Jewish state, but you can have a church, you can have a mosque, you can have whatever the hell you want, and you can do whatever you want there. That's the kind of country that I'm going to support by default, right? And so I'm willing to, like I'm a little different than Joe here. I'm willing to give a little grace to our leadership, but ultimately I'm going to be ready to say I told you so, not to fucking trust that guy. Probably in about 6 months, Joe, I'd say is when the public backstabbing will start to occur, and we'll be and Trump will be having some buyer's remorse on trusting this motherfucker.
I don't think it'll be that long, but sure.
I know. I'm just saying. I don't know how long it'll last, but that I can't imagine it lasting any longer than that. Trump's patience with Netanyahu is running out. This is a Financial Times report, so your mileage may vary when it comes to these writers. The writer of this author of Black Wave. I have no idea what that book is, but it doesn't sound promising. President Donald Trump lands on Tuesday in a region that speaks his language, the Gulf. He will talk trillions of dollars, pageantry, and a lot of gold. There's also reports of a Qatari gift of a luxury jumbo jet to be used as Air Force One, which will be a jumbo ethical and security issue. Okay, I don't get that, Joe. I don't understand how one country gifting another country an asset is an ethical
since
problem.
Boeing can't deliver us one till 2030 at best, that we paid for a long time ago.
Exactly.
And it's not the first time we've gotten Air Force One from a foreign nation. They completely strip out the plane and completely rebuild it. It's really not a problem.
Well, the irony, Joe, is that the two 747 8Is that are being converted by Boeing right now, you know which country they came from, right? They were bought by Russians. They were Russian.
Yeah,
these once again, it's not a personal gift to Donald Trump. It's a gift to the United States. Just like
which I will add, he would not be allowed to accept. It would have been confiscated if it were.
Right. Well, the federal law on gifts and things like that is pretty strict, and it applies to even the president. Almost all gifts to the president by heads of states and whatnot have to be handed over to the Smithsonian. I can't remember who does it, Smithsonian or whatever. It's
the rule is like if it's over, like I think it's
$25
in value.
$25. Yeah. Let's see. But Trump is also seeking foreign policy wins. They're coming from unexpected quarters. The Houthis recently agreed to stop firing at commercial shipping in the Red Sea, including U.S. vessels. The ceasefire might fall apart any time, but crucially, it did not cover Israel, which was hit by Houthi missiles and retaliated earlier this month. In a deal with the U.S., Hamas has agreed to release one American-Israeli hostage. As a gesture to Trump, reportedly with nothing in return. The families of the other Israeli hostages are bereft and furious at their government. Hamas now hopes to secure a broader ceasefire, and 2 million Palestinians in Gaza are desperate for a resumption of aid deliveries. Israel suspended those in March when it gave up phase 2 of the ceasefire. They gave up giving it because they kept getting stolen by Hamas.
And Hamas is shooting people who attempt to get food from their warehouses.
They basically say, yeah, this is our shit. Don't you fucking touch it. If you touch it, we'll kill you. That's essentially what they've done. Meanwhile, Gulf countries are positioning themselves as mature, constructive partners. They resent being seen as an ATM, and Saudi Arabia's budget is stretched by falling oil prices. But they're also being helpful by hosting Ukraine talks, upholding a détente with Iran, helping post-Assad Syria get back on its feet. It seems everyone is scurrying to build goodwill with Trump, except Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The first sign of Trump's irritation came during their White House press conference. Trump did not reverse the 17% tariffs he slapped on Israel, and pointed out that Israel gets $4 billion a year in aid. That's a lot. Congratulations, by the way. That's pretty good. He told. That's kind of, talk about a backhanded compliment. The U.S. is a growing trade deficit with Israel. In Trump's mind, that makes Israel a net taker. But the worst moment for Israeli leader came when Trump revealed the U.S. was talking directly to Iran. Netanyahu can keep a poker face, but the strain was visible. The president is no humanitarian. He doesn't lose sleep over the devastation in the Gaza. He is also unhappy about Netanyahu's plans for a renewed military campaign in Gaza that runs counter to his grand vision for the Gaza Riviera. Never mind that it was cruel and unworkable to begin with. This is the fantasy of this leftist author who actually thinks Trump means that he's going to build a Trump hotel in Gaza. No, what he wants to do is he wants to open Gaza up for development so that the Gulf countries will pay a shit ton of money to fix Gaza. And because their money will be involved, they will keep the fucking Palestinians in check. That's what his Gaza Riviera is all about. I thought that was pretty transparent of him. Let's see. The U.S. keeps springing surprises on Netanyahu, cutting Israel out of deals it's making. Next up could be a potential civil nuclear deal with Saudi Arabia. Okay, so here, Joe, bottom line is that this article, I may not agree with the worldview of the person writing it, but he's keying in on a lot of things that I've kind of noticed in the past week or so. That's the nuclear deal. That's the individualized talks with Iran that kind of freezes Israel out. Now, the assumption is that they're not, consulting with Israel on these. I think that's probably naive to think. They may not be doing it at the leadership level. They may be doing it more at the working group level. But ultimately, these are things that are a change of pace from the way, we saw Trump basically put Israel first in Middle East policy during his last campaign or his last administration. Hey, Joe, do you see a difference between this administration and his last administration on how he's handling Israel?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Yeah, do you see a difference between Trump 1 and Trump 2 on the way he's handling Israel?
Yeah, he's not letting Jared Kushner tell him what to do.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing. Pinochet Helicopter Tours has a $2 one I want to address.
Yeah. Pinochet's helicopter $2 says, like the Qatari jet won't come pre-rigged with explosives like Hamas pagers. God sent Trump an enormous an emoluments clause. Don't take the bait. No, but here's the thing. That
Number
plane
one,
would
it's
be
not emoluments because it's a gift to the government, not to Donald Trump. And
Right.
two, do you honestly believe that the United States Secret Service is not going to check for explosives?
So
Come on.
yeah,
I mean,
we should talk about what work is actually done when they turn a plane into Air Force One,
Well,
because they
so-
go down
so-
and they strip it to the actual frame of the aircraft.
Yeah,
So,
It's
so
just so-
I'm less worried about explosives, and I would be more worried about
Bugs.
sophisticated bugs, and viruses in the firmware of the computer system, things
besides,
like that. Right?
it's a Boeing. It's dangerous enough on its own. It doesn't need explosives.
So
Right.
if I'm remembering correctly, I wouldn't worry so much about that. I'm pretty sure that the avionics suite gets entirely replaced because it's
Well, but see,
Air Force
no,
One
no,
does not have a civilian avionics suite. It has a
Here's
military avionics suite.
that's the reason why the new Air Force One replacements are taking so long. I don't think they're going to do a full strip out. I think they're going to put in some, so basically some communications gear to kind of bring that up to spec. I think that they're going to probably tear it apart enough to guarantee it's not being monitored or anything like that. But ultimately, I don't think they're going to do a full, they're not going to do the shielding, that they have to do, like the EMP shielding and all that kind of stuff that the Air Force One has on it. I think it'll be a kind of an Air Force One light, if as an interim solution.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole point of it,
Whatever, Pinochet. Whatever.
What did Pinochet say now? Oh, yeah. Pinochet's helicopter for $2 says the same Secret Service that's afraid of sloped roofs, the same government that tried to kill Trump last year. Yes, Joe, I do not trust them ever. All right. I mean, yeah, if you don't trust them, that's cool, man.
But the U.S. government is not Qatar, so whatever.
Yeah,
man.
You don't think that the second Joe Biden administration isn't going to have to fly on that jet too?
I don't think that anyone's putting explosives on that plane. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Of all the things to worry about, that's not the one I would worry about. Like I said, I would worry about
It's as dumb as
espionage.
the question that Matt and I both get every single day, 5 times a day. Are there explosives in my Baofeng radio? Nah, bro. You're not that important. Stop it.
Yeah, Brown Crow 6 is right. The VC-25s are being gutted and modified at a secure location. Yeah, they're even having to kind of give waivers on the on both locations. So like they have to build the location in order to make the airplane, right? And so what they're doing, evidently, you know what? There's a story on this I could refer to real quick. I won't bring it up because it's not worth. I just want to get some of the facts right here. Yeah. So the idea of an interim presidential aircraft stems from the delays in the current effort to replace the two VC-25As, the oldest of which has been flying for 35 years, which are based on the 747-200 model. The VC-25B program traces its route back to the late 2000s, and then President-elect Donald Trump had previously called for its cancellation back in 2017. The 747-200s in any configuration have all but disappeared from the skies, meaning that finding parts and general support for the type are getting harder. Let's see. The VC-25s are the most expensive aircraft to fly in the U.S. Air Force portfolio, costing $178,000 per hour. The designated replacements for the jet, known as Air Force One, when the president is aboard, the two VC-25Bs that Boeing is converting from 747-8i airliners. The conversion process has taken longer than initially let's see, recent estimates that we've gotten from Boeing show a significant improvement on that date. 2029 was the original date. We're looking at the requirements that would potentially trade it off, so we get to that date. So not guarantee the date, but they're proposing to bring it in 2027. Evidently, like L3 Harris potentially could come in and take over for Boeing on this. That's one of the things that they've talked about. And then another is that freaking Elon Musk has been Boeing has talked to Elon. Yeah, here it is. The president wants the plane sooner, so we're working with Elon Musk and the team to figure out what we can pull up the schedule of that aircraft. They called talks with Musk constructive. I mean, I'm no Elon Musk fanboy. I like a lot of things that he does, but the guy's smart. So, yeah, I guess he could probably be constructive on how to build a better airplane. I mean, he is a rocket science. So. Durna 2 for $2 says, Qatar giving us Air Force One is a diplomatic coup. It places the Qatari royal family in our camp forever. Nobody's going to let them forget it. I mean, I think the Qataris have already been in our camp forever because we kind of own them with what Doha is right there in the middle of Qatar. All right, that's you know what that's. I just want to say that the other three stories were basically we have two Middle East sections, so it's basically a big Middle East show today. The one thing that I wanted to mention, we'll go to the last story, Watcher, because I think this is worth getting on people's radar because most people have not seen this because it sure as fuck isn't in the mainstream news. So we had heavy fighting erupt again in the capital of the fractured Libya. Clashes between heavily armed forces erupted in the Libyan capital late on Monday, killing at least 6 people and plunging Tripoli into renewed violence and fear. The fighting, which continued into the early hours of Tuesday, was triggered by the killing of a powerful militia commander who led the Stability Support Authority, one of Tripoli's most influential armed factions. Heavy gunfire and explosions were reported in several neighborhoods, specifically the densely populated southern district. Residents told Reuters that they heard intense gun battles and bodies retrieved from sites of the clashes. Joe, not a surprise at all that Libya is popping off again. I mean, this was the powder keg at all. Here's my question is that what does this mean for the conflict in the wider region? Because ironically, Libya is one of those countries where all the people on both sides are not Iran and are from that area, with one side being kind of a Turkey, NATO supported side, and the other side being UAE and Egypt backed with some Russian support. So it's a really interesting kind of configuration of combatants and supporters that is atypical for the region.
Interestingly, I don't know that the Turkey supported ones are the good guys, or that the Russian supported ones are the bad guys. Right. It's a part of the world where that line is very, very hard to draw. This is just one more classic example of we decided to destroy a country and make it non-functioning for the rest of its existence, and here we are, right? It's not been a functioning country since we bombed it into oblivion, and it's going to remain this way for a long time. No easy resolution.
Yeah, for all of his sins, Gaddafi actually kept the country together in a way that, Joe, it's kind of like the argument that, well, should Ukraine have rolled over for Russia? Well, they shouldn't have had to, but that's how you save a lot of people. It's like, should we let a bad guy like Gaddafi continue to run this country? Well, you shouldn't have to, but if you do, you're going to save a lot more people. It's like these choices aren't like always so obvious.
If people can't rise up and overthrow their government on their own, why should we be the ones to do it?
Bingo. So anyway, I just wanted to. I mean, what we'll probably do is we'll probably do a deeper dive once we have a little more information on this, and we'll do that on Friday. The late breaking news that I've seen on this is that there is a ceasefire on the ground.
Yeah,
it sounds like this
too.
Yeah, it sounds like this is one of those kind of things, like an incident set off fighting, and then but maybe kind of like India and Pakistan, they didn't really want to fight; they just had to because so that everybody's saving face.
Yeah.
And Joe, the sad thing is I mean, how many times people end up in a really tough fight because they essentially they couldn't back down. That is a real thing.
Yep.
All right, Joe. We're on Hump Day. Looking towards the end of the week. What's in your crystal ball?
Well, my crystal ball is a great RTO course here over the weekend. But I would anticipate to see some more activity out of the Cincinnati situation, where you've got the armed groups of Black Hebrew Israelites moving around. Another incident happened there over the weekend that a couple of our viewers tagged me in to show me, but the Black Hebrew Israelites were out in that region just shouting at white people randomly and trying to instigate conflict. They're trying to push something to happen in Cincinnati that can become a much larger movement. So watch that.
Yeah, I mean, the guy with the crossbow seemed like a mild-mannered kind of guy talking. It was a little in La La Land, but still, those people are not beyond becoming martyrs to kind of further an agenda.
No, they've done it several times. Note the Dallas police shooting, the Baton Rouge police shooting.
Yep.
Happened several times.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Watcher?
Yeah, impromptu announcement. I have been contacted by a couple of people who independently have asked me if I would be willing to teach them drone stuff Monday, Tuesday time period after Matt's class. Specifically, not like here's how you patrol with drones or any of that kind of stuff. Just the super basics. Here's the mechanics of how it works. Here's how you check weather. Here's the weather conditions you need to be aware of. Here's how you fly without crashing. Here's how you here are the different business things you can use it for. And here's how you pursue those. Here are the license and registration limitations, that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in that, I am not hyper prepared for it, but it's stuff that I can rattle off the top of my head. So I'm probably going to do it in an informal pay what you want sort of thing to try and help me cover my gas budget. So if you're up there and you're interested in such a thing, let me know.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. But I do have a quick looking forward sort of thing, and that is this story that I found that we didn't get time for, but it is breaking, and that is that rogue communication devices have been found inside Chinese solar power inverters in the United States. They were found with unauthorized and undocumented direct cellular communication equipment that is meant to hook into Chinese communication equipment and distribute those calls in such a way that unless you were literally monitoring the radio wave traffic, you wouldn't see it.
Let me point out the real purpose of this before people think it's something different. These aren't shutoff switches. This is a private and unknown Chinese spy communication network, which could be used for reconnaissance or advanced elements that were planning something bad. It's actually worse than them having a remote kill switch, right?
Although it probably also is that. I would assume that it's a wide variety of things. It's also, interestingly, it is a backdoor into our own. Likely, I think this is probably what the main purpose is. It's a backdoor into our energy infrastructure entirely, because those solar battery farms have to be networked into everything else in a secure fashion. And so if you have the ability to access or even monitor those wirelessly in such a way that the user doesn't know you're doing so, you gain strategic data.
Well, hey, Joe, do you think these are like repeaters, like so to help, or do you think it's like what he said? It's
It's
more
a
of
cellular
industrial.
network.
Yeah, cellular, like
So,
basically.
so like instead of having T-Mobile, you just have a chip for that private network. So like when the U.S. military goes somewhere, we bring along mobile subscriber equipment, which is a private cell phone network, right?
Yeah.
Kind of what it is here.
Hey, you remember when Trump said that we should not allow Chinese equipment to be used in our telecommunications infrastructure?
He's not wrong.
It's almost like he knew what he was talking about.
And meanwhile, we see Spain having a power outage due to the use of solar grid inverters from a country that shall not be named.
China.
Chinese.
It's called China. All right.
God, my favorite were the cope responses for why that atmospheric harmonic wave modulations.
Nope, it was just the Chinese flipping a switch.
Gentlemen, I think we're going to have an interesting week ahead in America, and I think it will have less to do with conflict, and I think we'll have more to do with the economy. Should be interesting.
Well, you know what? Matt pointed this out last night that our affiliate, Old Hong Kong, Jim, nailed almost to the day when the trade dispute between China and the U.S. would be resolved, and he was 100% right. And that's just. I just wanted to point that win out for Jim.
Yeah, that's kind of leaning into what I was saying a little bit there. We had an initial framework was announced with a China trade deal. So we don't have a trade deal. We have an initial framework, and that's the reason why it's a 90-day kind of moratorium on basically ceasefire on all the tariffs and whatnot. So what this allows China to do is get their factories up and running and get all the shit shipping again. And I think that what you're going to end up seeing is probably a fairly comprehensive, because China needs us more than we need them, and I think they finally have realized that. And here's the key thing, Joe. It has nothing to do with the fact that they want to make money off of us. No, they're not ready to go yet. They've got a plan, and they're going to go, but they're not ready yet. So they need to continue to be able to do all the things until. Exactly right. They need to the world needs to make sense to them in order for their plan to be able to be set up correctly. Because this trade war did not play into their wait a second, we need Because let me tell you, China. One of the weaknesses that China has bought into of the modern world is this just-in-time logistics, i.e., they make stuff as they need it. Because that allows them to stretch their dollars. Because when you have to inflate your economy, you have to stretch the dollar. And so shutting down their economy like we did hurt, but it didn't hurt. See, people what's his name? The guy who's always saying the sky is falling with China.
Gordon Chang.
Gordon Chang, right? So unimportant, I can't even remember his name. Anyway, Gordon Chang, he thinks that, China's getting ready to collapse. This trade, no. China can keep going if they want to. The problem is they would prefer just to go with plan A if they could continue to do that. And if they got to make a little bit of a trade deal with us to continue plan A going forward, that's what they'll do. I don't know when China's going to be ready and when they're going to pull the trigger, but one day they will do it, and we won't know about it until we hear about it on the fucking news. That's how it's going to work. And that's what they're counting on, I think.
Well, and I think that we won't hear about it because there'll be a bunch of cut cables beforehand, and we won't hear about it until 3 days later, and it'll already be over. So,
yeah, and that's honestly, I think one of the things that is a threat to China's kind of modus operandi is Starlink is because it gets around the cable issue to a certain extent. But if you don't think that Starlink stuff doesn't go through cables, it doesn't go all on the satellites.
Correct.
It ground networks and in conjunction with the satellites. But there is a military government version of Starlink, and that is able to operate purely on satellites. So that is an innovation that China wasn't expecting. So anyway, that's my thought. The economy and China and whatnot, near and long term. Gentlemen, that's all I've got. We've went a little long. I want to thank Matt again for jumping in there, and I really enjoyed that kind of masterclass on analyzing the motivation of the mainstream media. He was spot on almost all of that. So I want to thank Matt again for jumping on with us. Joe, thank you for what you're doing out there, building the community with Matt and doing the classes. I think that's going to be a great week for you guys. Numbers aside, it's always good. The people who come out for those things are fucking quality people. And I think that's the important thing. It's not having a huge number of people. It's having a few people who are fucking dedicated to, let's be honest, evangelizing this kind of way of life out into the world. So I think you guys are going to have a good time. Watcher, good luck with the pigs, man. Don't take too much on it, brother. You're way too busy.
No. Look. Part of this whole thing is this is stuff that the kids and the wife can help run. So it's good stuff. I just got to help get the equipment set up.
I always liked old school pig farmers. They talk about the right animal. You just put a fence around the house and put the pigs on the outside of the fence and just feed them at the same time every day, and they'll always show up. It's like pigs are pretty
even easier because these ones eat grass. So
really,
yeah.
That's interesting. They're goat pigs. All right. If you haven't done it already, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Like these videos, whether it's on Rumble or on YouTube. I want to thank Joe, Watcher, and you too, chat. You guys are always keeping us on our feet. We don't always have to agree. That's fine. Good buddies could go back and forth. So don't take it personally. We will be back on Friday. Joe is going to be invigorated from the courses. But until then, as always, stay safe.